Welcome to Real Paranormal Activity, the network. Entertainment you'll enjoy.
You are listening to an RPA production, where people gather. LaFosse Corporation, LLC.
Welcome back, my Mysterians, to another Terry's Mysterious Moments. Let's get right into the story. The Bermuda Triangle, which is also known as the Devil's Triangle, is a legend. Some refer to it as an urban legend. It's focused on a loosely defined region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean, where a number of aircraft and ships are said to have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The idea that the area is uniquely prone to disappearances arose in the mid-20th century, but most reputable sources dismiss the idea that there is any mystery. Of course, most reputable sources have no sense of mystery and can't understand the explained, in my opinion. The earliest suggestion of unusual disappearances in the Bermuda area appeared in an article written by Edward Van Winkle Jones of the Miami Herald that was distributed by the Associated Press and appeared in various American newspapers on September 17th of 1950. 2 years later, in 1952, Fate magazine published Sea Mystery at Our Back Door, a short article by George X. Sand that was the first to lay out the now familiar triangular area where the losses took place. Sand recounted the loss of several planes and ships since World War II, the disappearance of Sandra, a tramp steamer, the December 1945 loss of Flight 19, a group of 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers on a training mission, the January 1948 disappearance of Star Tiger, a British South American Airways passenger airplane, the March 1948 disappearance of a fishing skiff with 3 men, including jockey Albert Snyder, the December 1948 disappearance of an airborne transport DC-3 charter flight en route from Puerto Rico to Miami, and the January 1949 disappearance of Star Ariel, another BSAA passenger airplane. Flight 19 was covered again in the April 1962 issue of the American Legion magazine. In it, author Alan W. Eckert wrote that the flight leader had been heard saying, "We cannot be sure of any direction. Everything is wrong. Strange. The ocean doesn't look as it should." In February of 1964, Vincent Gaddis wrote an article titled "The Deadly Bermuda Triangle" in Argosy, saying Flight 19 and other disappearances were part of the pattern of strange events in the region, dating back to at least 1840. The next year, Gaddis expanded this article into a book called Invisible Horizons. Other writers elaborated on Gaddis's ideas, including John Wallace Spencer, who wrote Limbo of the Lost in 1969 and was reprinted in 1973, Charles Berlitz, who wrote The Bermuda Triangle in 1974, and Richard Weiner, who wrote The Devil's Triangle in 1974. Various of these authors incorporated supernatural elements. Sand's article in Fate described the area as a watery triangle bounded roughly by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. The Argosy article by Gaddis further delineated the boundaries, giving its vertices as Miami, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. Subsequent writers did not necessarily follow this definition. Some writers gave different boundaries and vertices to the triangle, with the total area varying from 1/2 million square miles to 1.51 million square miles. Indeed, some writers even stretch it from near the Irish coast over nearly to the Texas coast, and having its third point as well out in the Atlantic Ocean. Consequently, the determination of which accidents occurred inside the triangle depends on which writer reported them and which delineation of the triangle they consider canonical. Larry Cush, author of The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved in 1975, argued that many claims of Gaddis and subsequent writers were exaggerated, dubious, or unverifiable. Cush's research revealed a number of inaccuracies and inconsistencies between Berlitz's accounts and statements from eyewitnesses, participants, and others involved in the initial incidents. Cush noted cases where pertinent information went unreported, such as the disappearance of round-the-world yachtsman Donald Crowhurst. He disappeared during a circumnavigation race while in the Atlantic after his boat began taking on water. He secretly dropped out of the race while still submitting false positioning info. It is thought that he then committed suicide. Berlitz had presented the disappearance as a mystery, despite clear evidence to the contrary. Another example was the ore carrier recounted by Berlitz as lost without trace 3 days out of an Atlantic port, when it had been lost 3 days out of a port with the same name in the Pacific Ocean. Now, I'm not sure, but if he was referring to the USS Cyclops, then it was lost off the eastern seaboard in the Atlantic Ocean. Cush also argued that a large percentage of the incidents that sparked allegations of the triangle's mysterious influence actually occurred well outside it. Often, his research was simple. He would review periodic newspapers of the dates of reported incidents and find reports on possibly relevant events like unusual weather that were never mentioned in the disappearance stories. He concluded that the number of ships and aircraft reported missing in the area was not significantly greater, proportionally speaking, than in any other part of the ocean. In an area frequented by tropical cyclones, the number of disappearances that did occur were, for the most part, neither disproportionate, unlikely, nor mysterious. Furthermore, Berlitz and other writers would often fail to mention such storms or even represent the disappearance as having happened in calm conditions when meteorological records clearly contradict this. The numbers themselves have been exaggerated by sloppy research. A boat's disappearance, for example, would be reported, but its eventual, if belated, return to port may not have been. Some disappearances had, in fact, never happened. One plane crash was said to have taken place in 1937 off Daytona Beach, Florida, in front of hundreds of witnesses. Apparently it never was. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle is a manufactured mystery, according to some, perpetuated by writers who either purposely or unknowingly made use of misconceptions, faulty reasoning, and sensationalism. When the British Channel 4 television program The Bermuda Triangle in 1992 was being produced by John Simmons of Geofilms for the Equinox series, the marine insurance market Lloyd's of London was asked if an unusually large number of ships had sunk in the Bermuda Triangle area. Lloyd's determined that large numbers of ships had not sunk there. Lloyd's does not charge higher rates for passing through this area either. United States Coast Guard records confirm their conclusion. In fact, the number of supposed disappearances is relatively insignificant considering the number of ships and aircraft that pass through on a regular basis. The Coast Guard is also officially skeptical of the triangle, noting that they collect and publish through their inquiries much documentation contradicting many of the incidents written about by the triangle authors. In one such incident involving the 1972 explosion and sinking of the tanker VA Fog, the Coast Guard photographed the wreck and recovered several bodies, in contrast with one triangle author's claim that all the bodies had vanished, with the exception of the captain, who was found sitting in his cabin at his desk, clutching a coffee cup. In addition, the VA Fog sank off the coast of Texas, nowhere near the commonly accepted boundaries of the triangle, but possibly within the widely skewed and expanded confines of the triangle that some use. The Nova Horizon episode, Case of the Bermuda Triangle, which aired on June 27th of 1976, was highly critical, stating that when we've gone back to the original sources or the people involved, the mystery evaporates. Science does not have to answer questions about the triangle because these questions are not valid in the first place. Ships and planes behave in the triangle the same way they behave everywhere else in the world. Skeptical researchers such as Ernest Tavez and Barry Singer have noted how mysteries and the paranormal are very popular and very profitable. This has led to the production of vast amounts of material on topics such as the Bermuda Triangle. They were able to show that some of the pro-paranormal material is often misleading or inaccurate, but its producers continue to market it. Accordingly, they have claimed that the market is biased in favor of books, TV specials, and other media that support the triangle mystery, and against well-researched material if it espouses a skeptical viewpoint. In a 2013 study, the Worldwide Fund for Nature identified the world's 10 most dangerous waters for shipping, but the Bermuda Triangle was not among them. Benjamin Radford, an author and scientific paranormal investigator, noted in an interview on the Bermuda Triangle that it could be very difficult locating an aircraft lost at sea due to the vast search area, and although the disappearance might be mysterious, that does not make it paranormal or unexplainable. Radford further noted that the importance of double-checking information as the mystery surrounding the Bermuda Triangle had been created by people who had neglected to do so. Triangle writers have used a number of supernatural concepts to explain the events. One explanation pins the blame on leftover technology from the mythical lost continent of Atlantis. Sometimes connected to the Atlantis story is a submerged rock formation known as the Bimini Road off the island of Bimini in the Bahamas, which is in the triangle by some definitions. Followers of the purported psychic Edward Cayce, or Edward Casey, take his prediction that evidence of Atlantis would be found in 1968 as referring to the discovery of the Bimini Road. Believers describe the formation as a road, a wall, or other structure, but the Bimini Road is of natural origin. Some hypothesize that a parallel universe exists in the Bermuda Triangle region, causing a time-space warp that sucks the object around it into a parallel universe. Others attribute the events to UFOs. Charles Berlitz, the author of various books on anomalous phenomena, lists several theories attributing the losses in the triangle to anomalous or unexplained forces. Compass problems are one of the cited phrases in many triangle incidents. While some have theorized that unusual local magnetic anomalies may exist in the area, such anomalies have not been found. Compasses have natural magnetic variations in relation to the magnetic poles, a fact which navigators have known for centuries. Magnetic or compass north and geographic or true north are exactly the same, only for a small number of places. For example, as of 2000, in the United States, only those places on a line running from Wisconsin to the Gulf of Mexico. But the public may not be as informed and think there is something mysterious about a compass changing across an area as large as the triangle, which it naturally will. The Gulf Stream, or Florida current, is a major surface current, primarily driven by thermohaline circulation that originates in the Gulf of Mexico and then flows through the Straits of Florida into the North Atlantic. In essence, it is a river within an ocean, and like a river, it can and does carry floating objects. It has a maximum surface velocity of about 6.6 feet per second. A small plane making a water landing or a boat having engine trouble can be carried away from its reported position by the current. One of the most cited explanations in official inquiries as to the loss of any aircraft or vessel is human error. Human stubbornness may have caused businessman Harry Conover to lose his sailing yacht, the Revenant, as he sailed into the teeth of a storm south of Florida on January 1st of 1958. Hurricanes, as we know, are powerful storms that form in tropical waters and have historically cost thousands of lives and caused billions of dollars in damage. The sinking of Francisco de Bobadilla's Spanish fleet in 1502 was the first recorded instance of a destructive hurricane. These storms have in the past caused a number of incidents related to the triangle. Many Atlantic hurricanes pass through the triangle as they recurve off the eastern seaboard, and before the advent of weather satellites, ships often had little to no warning of a hurricane approach. A powerful downdraft of cold air was suspected to be a cause in the sinking of the Pride of Baltimore on May 14th of 1986. The crew of the sunken vessel noted that the wind suddenly shifted and increased velocity from 20 miles an hour to 60 to 90 miles an hour. A National Hurricane Center satellite specialist, James Lushine, stated during very unstable weather conditions, the downburst of cold air from aloft can hit the surface like a bomb, exploding outward with a great squall line of wind and water. An explanation for some of the disappearances has focused on the presence of large fields of methane hydrates, which is a form of natural gas, basically ocean bottom farts, on the continental shelves. Laboratory experiments carried out in Australia have proven that bubbles can, indeed, sink a scale model ship by decreasing the density of the water, and any wreckage would be deposited on the ocean floor or rapidly dispersed by the Gulf Stream. It has been hypothesized that periodic methane eruptions, sometimes called mud volcanoes, may produce regions of frothy water that are no longer capable of providing adequate buoyancy for ships. If this were the case, such an area forming around a ship would cause it to sink very rapidly and without warning. Publications of the USGS describe large stores of undersea hydrates worldwide, including the Blake Ridge area off the coast of the southeastern United States. However, also according to the USGS, that's the United States Geological Survey, no large releases of gas hydrates are believed to have occurred in the Bermuda Triangle for the past 15,000 years. The sail training ship HMS Atalanta, originally named the HMS Juno, disappeared with her entire crew after setting sail from the Royal Naval Dockyard in Bermuda for Falmouth, England on January 31st of 1880. It was presumed she sank in a powerful storm which crossed her route a couple of weeks after she sailed, and that her crew, being composed primarily of inexperienced trainees, may have been a contributing factor. The search for evidence of her fate attracted worldwide attention at the time. Connection is also made to the 1878 loss of the training ship HMS Eurydice, which foundered after departing the Royal Naval Dockyard in Bermuda for Portsmouth on March 6th. And she was alleged, decades later, to have been a victim of the mysterious triangle, an allegation resoundingly refuted by the research of author David Francis Rain in 1997. So, why the long preamble about and the recapping regarding things in the Bermuda Triangle? Because one of the victims of the triangle forces, be they natural or supernatural, was found years after it went missing. The wreck was discovered in the 1980s, but was not identified until January of 2020. The SS Cotopaxi was an Emergency Fleet Corporation design 1060 bulk carrier built for the United States Shipping Board under the World War I Emergency Shipbuilding Program. The ship, launched November 15th of 1918, was named after the Cotopaxi stratovolcano of Ecuador. The ship arrived in Boston on December 22nd of 1918 to begin operations for the USSB through December 23rd of 1919, when Cotopaxi was delivered to the Clinchfield Navigation Company under terms of sale. It would seem to me that the Cotopaxi may have been a klutz of a ship. During operation for the USSB, the ship suffered serious damage in a grounding on the coast of Brazil, and later, operating for Clinchfield Navigation, was involved in a collision with the tug in Havana, Cuba, resulting in the tug being sunk. She and a crew of 32 vanished in December of 1925 while en route from Charleston, South Carolina to Havana with a cargo of coal. The Cotopaxi was one of 17 EFC design 1060 steam-powered Laker-type bulk carrier ships built for the USSB by the Great Lakes Engineering Works, River Rouge Yard, Ecorse, Michigan, as hull number 209. It was unique. The design was unique to GLEW, with the deck house and the engines aft, which is a design commonly referred to as a stem winder, with 4 cargo hatches forward, served by 2 masts. On November 29, 1925, the Cotopaxi departed Charleston for Havana under Captain W.J. Meyer. It had a cargo of coal and a crew of 32. On December 1st, Cotopaxi radioed a distress call reporting that the ship was listing and taking on water during a tropical storm. The ship was officially listed as overdue on December 31st. They took 30 days to list it as missing and overdue. The wreck of the Cotopaxi lies 35 nautical miles off St. Augustine, Florida. She was discovered in the 1980s but could not be identified and was subsequently dubbed the Bear Wreck, B-E-A-R, Bear Wreck. The Cotopaxi was identified in January of 2020 based on 15 years of investigation by marine biologist Michael Barnett. Cotopaxi was one of 3 of the 17 Design 1060 ships built at the River Rouge Yard lost and initially listed as missing. The Coushatta, hull 216, renamed the John Tracy, was listed as missing on a voyage from Norfolk, Virginia to Boston in January of 1927. The ship is now listed among the Collier wrecks of Stellwagen Bank National Marine Sanctuary, where ships with coal cargoes are second only to fishing vessels as victims of disaster. Apparently it's a man-made reef. Coverun, hull number 221, after being renamed the Mahucona and then sold and was operating as the Santa Clara under the Brazilian flag, was listed as missing southwest of Bermuda in February of 1941, while on a voyage from Newport News to Rio. Several were lost due to wartime action, while others lost to other causes. The Corydon, hull 206, foundered in the Bahama Channel during a hurricane in September of 1919. The Cottonwood, hull 211, renamed the Stanburn, foundered October 1946 after striking a submerged object. One of the ships, the Covina, hull 220, became notable as the unique U.S. Army port repair ship Junior N. Van Noy. That ship was first of the port repair ships to sail for Europe, where it engaged in repairs at Cherbourg, France. Oddly, in the 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Cotopaxi is connected to the legend of the Bermuda Triangle and is discovered in the Gobi Desert, presumably set there by extraterrestrial forces. The question begs asking, where was the Cotopaxi for the intervening 55 years from her disappearance until her discovery? Perhaps there are indeed some mysteries in the Caribbean Sea and the Bermuda Triangle. Well, that's it for this week, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the story about the Bermuda Triangle and some information about it. Join us again when we come back with more Terry's Mysterious Moments. Have a good week. Be careful. Bye.